Welcome 406 online to your week 3 video. Let's take just a second and navigate through your syllabus. I'm going to turn this on the preview so that it appears as though you all would see it. So let's look at our syllabus and what we have to do in week 3. Looking at our learning outcomes, the tasks that we need to be completing, and what is going to be required for your interactive notebook this week. So in week 3, you're going to be designing a planning support tool, so your anchor chart, about the 7 best practices for reading comprehension. You're going to identify and justify best practices for students responding to reading. That meets multiple learning outcomes for the course. And then you're going to reflect on 8 strategic lessons based on student monitoring comprehension and reading. And so those will be measured through your discussion board, your interactive notebook, which includes your anchor chart and your responses for strategies that work chapters 6 and 7. So if we go back into our weekly content, let's first go into week 3. And you'll see your discussion board post. So providing opportunities to respond to reading is critical for reading comprehension. Students need to be able to respond to text, need to be able to retell what's happening, recall those main idea details and story elements. The more engaging that those experiences are for students, the more that they will respond and remember what's happening and enjoy reading in general. So there are 13 ways that the authors share to teach students to respond to reading. I want you to choose one within the oral category and one within the written, artistic, digital response category and share from your point of view. So in your experience, was that method implemented effectively and how do you know? So your experience could be, if you're in a placement classroom right now, that you're reflecting on that. And if you're not in a classroom right now, then it could be when you were a student in a classroom. So in choosing that method, was it implemented effectively according to what the authors are telling us in strategies that work, and how do you know? Which method would you choose to implement in your classroom? So it could be that you're picking a different method, but which one would you choose? And what are some potential challenges that you may need to prepare for? So because we have so many variables in the classroom, we always have to kind of be able to prepare for scenarios that may come down the pike. So in choosing that method for oral and that method for the written, artistic, digital response, what are some potential challenges that you may need to prepare for? So that is your discussion board. Then your anchor charts and strategies that work chapters 6 and 7. If you remember, you have to go back into week 1 so that you can navigate down to your interactive notebook. And if we're looking at week 3, you're going to see your instructional practices for reading comprehension. So chapter 6 shares 7 instructional practices for reading comprehension. In each of those practices, I want you to design an anchor chart based on the brief explanation within the chapter, as well as tips that are more specific within the chapter. So you can create the anchor chart on chart paper and insert pictures. So you would make it yourself and take a picture and insert it, or you can do a digital anchor chart and put it in here. So either way. So there's where your anchor chart assessment is coming in for your learning outcomes this week. Then you're responding to reading. In bullet points, a list, however is easiest for you, I want you to identify and define in your own words the 13 options for responding to reading. And then your strategy lessons for these chapters. There are 8 strategy lessons for monitoring comprehension. For each one, again, I want you to just kind of like bullet list those strategy lessons, but then within those bullets, make sure you're summarizing what the main components of the lesson are. This should be something that serves you when you're in the classroom. So as you're listing out these 8 strategy lessons, make sure that you have some way of noting it so that when you're in the classroom, it's something you can refer back to for quick ideas on activities and lessons and approaches to use with your students. So those are going to be your tasks for week 3. If we return back to the syllabus, we've reviewed our discussion board, and then your interactive notebook includes your anchor chart and then your work on chapters 6 and 7. So if you have any questions other than that, please feel free to let me know and reach out. Otherwise, good luck with week 3.